This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
M3 Radio in the mix. Join your hosts, MADDOG, BEACHBALL, and Trooper Sam as they expose the communist infestation in our culture with Don't Tread on Me right here on M3 Radio, starting right now.
Welcome back to N3 Radio Presents Don't Tread on Me. We have a new mantra here, and I'm going to tell you what it is right now. We're exposing the communist infestation of our culture. This is episode 32, and we are recording today on February 8th, 2019. And standing up to the social justice wackos with me today is our editor-in-chief at N3 Radio, BEACHBALL. BEACHBALL, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, MADDOG. Good to hear from you. And I'm excited for this episode, what it has in store, and I'm ready to go.
Hey, so BEACHBALL, we have a new co-host. Would you like to introduce our new firearms law analyst?
I'd be happy to. And with us from now on is the ever-present and ever opinionated Sam. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Dude, it's a heavy responsibility, but I hope I can live up to it as good as you guys think I can.
Oh, yeah. So, Sam, do you want to go by Sam, just Sam alone, or do you want to go by Trooper Sam? It's up to you. You know, this is...
We'll stick with Trooper Sam for right now.
Okay.
Very well. Trooper Sam, you have been dubbed.
On every appearance.
So we're working to get our politicians to once again support the blue collar and abandon the blue hair social justice wackos, or NPCs as we like to call them. So we're going to talk about the State of the Union today. It's a big thing. But before we get into that, hey, BEACHBALL, do we have anything going on in N3 Radio that you could talk about? Fill us in.
Let me see. Probably not until the end of the show. We'll get to that later.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So Trooper Sam, he's our new co-host. We're gonna try to have him in as much as he's available. We're still gonna keep Al on as a
special guest
or contributor. We're gonna keep him on as a contributor, but due to his situation with his school, it makes it really difficult for him to come on and have a really good connection with us. Especially the way we are recording the shows today. When it was a lot easier when we were doing it over Blog Talk Radio. But I hopefully you guys are enjoying a much more crystal clear sound, and it will make for a better show. And we want to continue to have a show that people are willing to listen to. Our opinions are important. And we want people like-minded like us to listen to what we have to say, and we want to direct people into directions where they can listen to other like-minded personalities, especially when it comes to politics and social justice injected into pop culture. We want to talk about our gun laws. We want to talk about our First Amendment stuff. And we will help direct you into, following the right people. So, we're not behind so much behind the curve with the social media stuff that's going on right now, because it's completely infested with communist culture. It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And it's been really concerning as of late to me, seeing how much of it is coming out publicly now, how many people are behind it. Now, social media, of course, has that amplifying nature that makes you really think that something's a lot bigger than it is, just because you see it so much there. But even so, it's alarming. It's disturbing. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I definitely don't like it.
I do have some good news for you, though, for both of you. On this side of the United States, something happened that hasn't happened in 20 years down the street from me. The steel mills are firing again and bringing back a lot of jobs. And when I went on my trip earlier this year and I told everybody down south what was happening up north, they were like, oh, it really is happening. Like, this stuff is coming back. Like, there are glimmers of hope back east, guys, just to let you know. You just don't hear about, because like Trooper Sam brought up, the social media is so, invasive into our lives that we think that it is the primary way people get their news. Yes and no. Word of mouth still is the number one way, and I'm letting you guys know that all the industries are slowly coming back here, and all these towns back east, the states that voted for Trump, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, used to drive through these states and have like burnt out towns with a cafe as the center of the town, just like one of the contributors on one of the liberal networks said, MSNBC, I believe. And the jobs are coming back, and so towns that were like just ghost towns are now coming back east.
And that's definitely a highlight of the promises that Trump gave. Bringing back these industry jobs is a big deal, and according to his job numbers for the quarter, he's on mark. And I think it's irresponsible that the Democrats are trying to downplay these job numbers. It's pretty sick, and maybe we need to just take a second, and I picked out what I think is my favorite quote of the State of the Union address of the other night. America will never be a socialist country. And if you got what is that look on Bernie's face right there? I mean, I put a picture out in our show notes so that all our hosts can see what
that man looks like. He took a big bite out of a freaking lemon.
Lemon is not that bad.
It looks like one of those classic like comic book drawings, like, oh, foiled again.
I saw the best meme, and it was Bernie wasn't this mad since he lost the Cold War.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was great.
So basically, Trump does the State of the Union address, and I want to get into this a little bit because there was definitely something that happened in that State of the Union address. I mean, I'm not even talking about the ratings being better than President Obama's second State of the Union address, but I guess the polls came out and there was like a somewhere near 70% approval rating, which is telling a different narrative.
9%.
Well, I mean, I saw close to 70. You're saying 79. I'm going to assume it's somewhere in that range.
CBS poll afterwards, they said there was a 79% approval rating of that speech, either very much approved or at least somewhat approved. And I mean, that was a high number. And I'm like,
even on CNN, it was 58%.
Yeah, I'm surprised like CBS didn't just memory hole that.
I mean, that shows right now that even with all these investigations going on, I think the harder the Democrats push their message, the more political capital that the president has to use. He's like stocking his political capital bank full of gold bars. And I think the antics of the women dressed in white at the State of the Union address, sitting on their hands
until it was time to applaud themselves.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous part right there is when
Oh, he's talking about us.
Oh, he's talking about us. So women got, I think it's great. We live in a country where people of different races, cultures, genders can be elected to office and their voice can be heard. I don't particularly agree with a lot of those people. But I mean, it is because no civilization, no culture, no economic system is free of its warts and its crimes of the past. I think it's pretty impressive that in this day and age that we actually have a system where this is allowed. I mean, like ultimately we could. I mean, like if we were as bad as our political enemies want us to believe, then they wouldn't be there to have that round of applause for themselves to begin with.
Yeah, I think that works out as a good explanation.
Yeah, I mean, you live in a world where what is it, like 48% of Congress is now female? Is that what the number was?
God, I have to check that one out because I honestly don't remember. Hang on. How much of Congress is female?
Your producer will look that up. Just go ahead and keep going.
I think we're the political capital that the president gained. It literally shows that they are not in tune with not only the people who voted for the president, and I continue to say that I'm not necessarily a giant fan of President Trump.
No, we definitely know that there's some issues that need to be addressed, but he's what we got right now.
But the things that he's great at is, for the most part, is generally providing his promises. His promises was to give jobs to the Midwest, right?
Well, the rest bring back the places that we've chased industry out of. He promised to bring it back, and it's appearing that is working. However, I've got my own take on what I think his greatest accomplishment is.
Well, you're welcome to let us.
Yeah, I believe that the greatest accomplishment he's had is really forcing the left to reveal what it really is, to pull the sheet right off them and go, this is the villain. We're talking about a Scooby-Doo reveal here, and that's what he's done. Let's see who the ghost really is.
That's what I think this State of the Union address did. It opened up the curtain to see who the real Wizard of Oz is.
There you go.
And if you can't,
23.7, by the way.
23.7%.
Yes. 116th Congress as 23.7% from 2019 to 2021.
Well, 100 years ago, it was 0.
And 100% of them making exactly what the men do. Hey, imagine that. No pay gap there.
Yeah, well, that's another discussion for another time. But if you can't stand up and applaud, if you need to be told to stand up and applaud when the numbers are out to say that minorities and of all different types have the lowest unemployment rate in history, what are you telling the please keep doing that.
Indeed. I've never been happier than when these people really finally show just how deranged and how out of touch with the rest of America they are.
And when you sit around there, I mean, that was a really uplifting State of the Union address for the most part. you can't be happy for unemployment. I mean, you're so stuck onto the narrative that there's really not this great unemployment number. I mean,
they couldn't even applaud for, we are going to reduce HIV infections to 0 by 2030. They couldn't even find it in themselves to give a golf clap to that.
It's pretty sickening. I think the Democrats really, really, really pushed too hard, and they pushed themselves over the cliff. It's pretty disgusting. I got a video. It's 8 things Democrats refuse to stand for, and it's from Tipping Point on OAN. We'll give you a couple minutes to check out this video.
All the things Democrats refused to applaud for last night during President Trump's State of the Union address. This is how much Democrats hate Trump. They refuse to stand up or applaud for things that actually benefit the American people. These aren't partisan policy issues. These are good things for the American people that help the American people make our lives better. But because Trump was responsible for these things, well, the Democrats refuse to celebrate. Record low unemployment rates for Black and Hispanic Americans. Democrats, the party who claims they champion minorities, refuse to stand up or applaud.
African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all reached their lowest levels ever recorded.
A record low unemployment rate for disabled Americans. Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. Who doesn't celebrate that? Taking care of our military veterans, the men and women who serve and sacrifice to keep our nation free, Democrats refused to stand up or applaud.
After 4 decades of rejection, we passed VA accountability so that we can finally terminate those who mistreat our wonderful veterans.
Banning late-term abortion in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month of pregnancy. When the unborn baby is fully formed, can feel pain, can recognize her mama's voice, and live outside the womb, 81% of all Americans, Republican and Democrat, pro-choice and pro-life, want that illegal because it's brutal killing of what is obviously a living human life. Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. Only one Democrat, Joe Manchin, condemned late-term abortion. The rest of the Democrats refused to applaud for protecting babies in the womb.
To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
Making the middle class prosperous, Democrats refuse to stand up or applaud. 5 million people who no longer need food stamps. Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. The U.S. is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas. Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. When the president said America will never be socialist, Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. When the president said it's alarming to hear new calls for socialism from some Democratic politicians, the Democrats refused to stand up or applaud. But you know what Democrats did applaud for? They clapped for themselves. They gave themselves a round of applause for getting to Congress. Talk about self-absorbed. And that is my final point.
And we're back. And I hope you enjoyed the video from Tipping Point. It's 8 things Democrats refuse to stand for. I think that showcases exactly the political capital that the president is obtaining by exposing these Democrats for who they are and what they really are all about. You see, we got this tweet from Justin Amash.
I saw that.
Yeah. There were two outstanding lines in POTUS and State of the Union address. America was founded on liberty and independence, not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free. Great nations do not fight endless wars. Just wanted to bring that up. It was a pretty cool tweet, showcasing what Justin felt were the two best lines. Hey, Beach Ball, do you have some more numbers about what we were talking about earlier?
Yes, sir. It was 19.3% in the Senate, so grand total of, let's just say, about 42% of the total of the legislative branch of government is represented by women.
Dude,
oh, that sounds
Republican and Democrat.
Sounds like progress to me.
That's significant.
That's a pretty significant chunk. I mean, yes, it's not 50-50 like I guess, or whatever. I think women, there's more women than men in the country. Am I wrong? Is it like 51 to 48, something like that?
I think that's like a general statement as far as the world goes, too, because if I'm not mistaken, according to the latest numbers, it's like that in the majority of the countries where women dominate men in population.
Unless you're in China.
Unless you're in China.
Well, that's because they abort girls with with an axe.
Impunity. Yeah. Yeah.
Girl chopped her head off, right?
We never had a girl. I don't know what you're talking about. My wife wasn't even pregnant.
So there's our little article that we got here. I specifically used an analysis from Chris Chiliza. Is that how you say it? Chiliza?
I've never tried to pronounce his last name. I've read it, but if you go by the standard Italian pronunciation, it'd be like Chiliza.
It's Chiliza. That's how it is. Okay, so he's the CNN editor at large. That's his own words, by the way. I didn't make that up. So it's an article.
What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an editor at large.
So it's the 5 key takeaways from Donald Trump's State of the Union speech from the point of view of the editor at large at CNN. So I thought this would be humorous to read through what this idiot says. Trump started on a bipartisan note, but dot. That's 3 dots. Okay. In advance of his speech, administration officials pushed the idea that Trump would extend an olive branch to the Democrats and urge 2 warring parties to come together for the good of the country. Well, okay, doesn't that sound like what you're supposed to do in politics? Mm-hmm. Who would think that? Anyway, and he started on that note. There is new opportunity in American politics if only we had the courage to seize it. The president said in his speech earlier moments, victory is not winning for your party. Victory is winning for our country, which is a great sentiment. The problem, of course, or should we do this in does somebody want to do a lispy SJW voice?
Oh, I could totally do this.
Okay, let's knock it out.
I'm taking this one on. The problem, of course, is that Trump is a deeply flawed messenger on the whole unity thing. A pitch like this one, we must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good, could work if spoken by someone who, well, is not Trump.
NPC Sam.
Dude, I'm doing the hand gestures and everything.
Awesome.
My wrists go completely limp when I do that.
Holy shit. You know that all the fucking meat in your fucking your freezer and your refrigerator just spoiled.
It did too. I could smell it already.
Oh my God, you're going vegan just by fucking lisping. Hey, the soy come out of that cow. All right.
Oh God. Oh, you want me to finish that one?
Yeah, go ahead and finish it.
Okay. He literally turned the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution into an art form during the 2016 campaign. To turn suddenly and ask the assembled Congress to put aside nasty rhetoric and name-calling feels a little pot calling the kettle blackish. Even as he called for unity, Trump repeatedly cast Democrats as obstructionists, beat on open borders, and unwilling to condemn voices within their party making extreme remarks on abortions.
Oh my God. I felt my testosterone dropping.
Oh, I'm having trouble breathing.
Hey, it's been a long time since I was in algebra. I don't remember what the equal sign with the slash through it means.
Not equal.
Oh. Peace not equal to partisan investigations. Oh, I'm starting to do the voice myself.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God,
now, baby.
Oh my God.
That's my thing, baby.
Oh, the line likely to be quoted most, especially by Trump's critics from the speech, was this one. If there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way. The logic here, while strained, goes like this. If you want economic prosperity, you can't investigate the president. One doesn't work with the other.
Yeah.
Okay, NPC Sam. Hold on, NPC Sam, go.
Okay. It's quite a line, given that Trump administration is in the midst of an investigation led by special counsel Robert Mueller. His company is in the midst of an investigation by the Southern District of New York, and House Democrats are preparing a series of investigations into, among other things, Trump's cabinet, his taxes, and the firing of FBI Director James Comey. It's also a line that evokes a less than ideal comparison for Trump. I believe the time has come to bring that investigation and the other investigations of this matter to an end, said then President Richard Nixon in his 1974 State of the Union speech. 1 year of Watergate is enough. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, you think by at this point, we're like going, well, this is 2 years now. You think that the so-called Russian investigation, like, what is the parameters and the jurisdiction of this investigation? I'm talking.
Whenever you got a special counsel, it's whatever direction the special counsel takes. This is how we ended up from being an investigation of Whitewater with Clinton to being charged with obstruction of justice for perjury and an impeachment in the House, even though it had zero to do with Whitewater.
I mean, it's just
special counsels go the way they go.
It's amazing. You know, I tell everybody go out of your way, and if you listen to the last show, we had that 15-minute video from the Secret Service agent. What's his name? Dan Bongino, and
Bongino. Yeah,
Bongino. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and he's got a book coming out called Spygate. It really goes into what Mueller's investigation is all really about. So check that out. At least check out the 15-minute video if you're not into reading books or whatever. Oh, you forgot. So there was a little break over here, so you have to say "so yeah," or did I just do it good enough for you?
I did. I sort of lapsed right back. My voice can only handle so much NPC version, and then just went, so yeah.
Right.
Even I have to recoil at some point, bro.
So here's takeaway number 3, is women rule. It was hard to miss the large number of Democrat women sitting together on the House floor, wearing white in honor of the suffrage movement. A record number of women were elected to Congress in 2018. And what was those numbers again?
42%.
Oh, and The group of women provided the most surprising, even for Trump, moment of the night. In a touting his economic success, Trump delivered these lines. All Americans can be proud that we have more women in the workforce than ever before. And exactly 1 century after Congress passed the constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote, we also have more women serving in Congress than ever before. He was repeatedly interrupted by cheers as the women, almost exclusively Democrats, slapped fives and hugged to celebrate their momentous accomplishments.
And let me take a moment to go say, wait a minute. Who uses the term slap five? Come on, Chris. Seriously. The term is high five, bro.
You know, what I notice in a lot of this shit is when I put these notes up and I'm pulling right from their articles, guys that are like editor in chief for these big time mediums are like the worst spellers, the worst with grammar. They literally like you're writing. You're the editor at CNN, dude. Like,
and somehow the use of the English language evades you. Use of colloquial English evades you. I'm serious because I have to go in and I copy and paste to Word, and a lot of their like grammar problems like stick out, and I have to correct them just so it sounds clear when I'm reading it out loud.
Dude, subject predicate.
I wouldn't even say I remember like what subject predicate even means because I've been out of school so long. But I mean, I guess I got the idea. But man, these guys are supposed to be the intellectuals.
It's just filled with a bunch of pluperfects, conditional subjunctives. Don't even worry about it.
Now you're just trying to look impressive.
I think I got subjunctive in my eye.
They got antibiotics for that.
I feel like that producer in that Van Halen song. One break coming up.
You weren't supposed to do that, Trump joked. The celebration of record number of women morphed into USA cheer, and that gasp the entire chamber soon took. Trump clearly loved every second of it, despite the fact that many of the women elected in 2018 were not only driven to run by, but spurred to victory by their opposition to him and his politics. That's great. Really great, he said, and congratulations. That's great.
Hey, MADDOG, BEACHBALL, I'm going to step out for just a minute. My wife is trying to call it, and she knows I'm doing the show, so whatever it is she's calling for, I'm betting it's important. Give me about 3 minutes. No problem. You guys just go ahead and riff.
It was a nice moment for all parties and a rare one in both this speech and our broader politics. Broader politics.
Yeah, because you wouldn't mention anything about the border, anything about walls or laws or anything like that.
So our fourth point is the case for national emergency on the border was made. Trump poignantly did not say that he would declare a national emergency on the southern border if Congress could not come to some sort of compromise before February 15th. But he laid the ground for.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Okay. Let's. You're going to probably have to add it out. We'll start over again.
No. I know it's okay. Just go from. But lay down the groundwork. Just give us a 5 second.
I'm going to go from. I'm going to go from the beginning of it. Okay.
Okay.
So our point number 4, the case for national emergency on the border was made. Trump poignantly did not say he would declare a national emergency on the southern border if Congress could not come to some sort of compromise before February 15th. But he laid the groundwork for why his hands would be forced if, when the time comes, the lawless state of our southern border is a threat to safety, security, and financial well-being of all Americans. Trump said at one point. At another, he described a very dangerous southern border. At still another, he painted a picture of cities in Mexico loading undocumented immigrants in trucks and buses to bring them closer to unsecured parts of the U.S. border. To an extent that there was any sort of unifying theme to this speech, and you really have to dig hard for one. It was Trump making the case that the country is under grave threat from illegal immigration and that if Congress won't act, he will. In the past, most of the people in the room voted for a wall, but the proper wall never got built, Trump said. I'll get it built. So he doesn't have a little sly little reaction to that, which is weird because I think the approval rating is coming from the people who actually, agree with him on the board on this
addressed.
Yes,
because that's actually very common. It goes across both parties. It's a very bipartisan thing among the American people.
Yeah, and I think that they've gone so SJW. The DNC and the Democrats in Congress have gone so SJW that they don't even realize that their own party actually wants border security. It's something that they've promised over and over, president to president, year after year, and it's never been acted on. When they've had every opportunity, they've had funding before. They've, it's really sad. They overstepped their bounds when it comes to these points. And then our fifth point is the reaction shot story. Part of the State of the Union address is the reaction from the opposition party, and this is what we talked about earlier. And with Trump in the White House and the 2020 Democratic race already in full swing, it was a prime season for reaction shots of Democrats deeply disgruntled about Trump's pronouncement. There were eye rolls from New York Senator Kristen Gillibrand, the mouth-twisting dismay of California Senator Kamala Harris, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer seeming expletive at the Trump claim. Expletive. My bad. And then there was Speaker Nancy Pelosi's golf clap for Trump, a slapping of the hands together that has already become a meme. For Democrats, these reactions will set off waves of election. For Republicans, they will be seen as reflection of a party unwilling to ever give the president the benefit of the doubt. For the rest of us, it's a reminder that one speech doesn't change people's views, and B, the State of the Union is one big TV show. Is it one big TV show there, Limperist?
Wasn't a big TV show 8 years ago.
Is it, Chris?
It's the fact is, this is a big TV show. I mean, his take notwithstanding, no matter who's sitting in the Oval Office, it's a big production that way too big of a deal is made of by both sides, actually. And
yes,
in this case, the left is really just trying to twist the knife and trying to prove some kind of hypocrisy, even though a lot of the hypocrisy is coming from the left, and probably the greater bulk of it.
So, what I wonder how, according to Nielsen ratings, how many people tuned in to actually watch the State of the Union address live?
I will find that out.
Yeah, because it's probably a bigger number than the Democrats hope for. Because if he's getting anywhere between 58 and 72%, 78% approval rating for what he said, they're in big trouble.
I do know this. I heard this on the radio as I was driving home that evening, that the network with the lowest ratings for the State of the Union address was itself CNN. Even MSNBC outpaced them on that, and the three big networks.
Well, I think honestly, NBC outpaces them on everything. that's explicitly why they allowed AOC to release her green new bill. The green
that thing.
deal. It has to be. They're trying to bury that girl, and I mean she's a moron. Yeah,
she's definitely helping out. She's grabbing the shovel and filling in the grave while she's standing in it.
Yeah, they're doing a Julius Caesar to her before she even gets emperor.
And you, Nancy.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you don't come in into Congress and all of a sudden start fighting with the people on your side. Especially the leader, the majority leader. You don't go and protest outside her office. It's kind of fucking stupid.
Here's something interesting. One more thing, guys. Yeah. Try to wrap your head around this. They monitor how many transactions or how many people are posting on the internet at one time. They could figure out the percentage of people, and they said there are two other times when the transactions of messages on Twitter and Facebook and the internet are bigger, and that is December 24th and April 15th. The third came at 10:13 p.m. Eastern, when President Trump. The moment when the most social activity occurred came at 10:13 p.m. Eastern, when President Trump condemned socialism and said, "Great nations do not fight endless wars."
So, hit that point right there was just coming in third in terms of online activity posting, behind Christmas and the eve before tax day.
Correct.
Wow.
That's like religious event kind of level there.
I don't know. I don't really know who to blame. I'm not sure who the ringleader is of the Democrats anymore. But they unleashed a fucking sleeping giant. People are pissed off with this SJW shit.
These are things that are not boding well for them. This is.
We talk a lot about the pop culture aspects of SJWs and what they are literally. They created this Comicsgate movement. They've created the Fandom Menace. They've created the Gamergate, and the customers of comics, Star Wars, and video games are not having it. They're destroying those different entities of entertainment for this social justice aspect, and the customers are just not having it. And the more and more they push, and the more fires they start, the more the regular person is standing up and red pilling. Take your red pill. We need to do something. We need to be loud. We need to be active. This is not the time to sit back. Not the time to sit back. I'm going to go into right now Ocasio-Cortez's new Green Deal real quick. Okay, I'm going to go through the major points. Her first point,
like no airplanes.
We'll get there. So she's gonna ban affordable energy. She's gonna eliminate nuclear energy. She's gonna eliminate 99% of cars. 99%.
Guess these cars won't be eliminated.
She's gonna gut, refurbish, and retrofit or rebuild every building in America. She's gonna eliminate air travel. High-speed rails. That's what California is doing, right?
Yep.
Take a Greyhound to Hawaii, right? You could take a Greyhound to Hawaii, right?
Well, I mean, let's even if that's not even if we could still fly to Hawaii, I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous concept. Government guaranteed jobs for every American. That sounds like
whether
China.
They want to or not.
I don't even know what this word. I'm not going to go crazy into what this word is, but a healthy diet for every American.
Salubrious.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Which is basically promoting good health. That's all it means.
Free money. Free money.
If you are unable or unwilling, that was the one that really killed it. That's why you can't find this on her congressional website now. On her congressional webpage, the whole Green New Deal thing is gone. They deleted it yesterday.
That she's destroyed. She's already destroyed before she even got fucking started. And I believe they sabotaged her because they had enough. They had enough of her. They sabotaged and said, oh, yeah, this stuff looks great. Go ahead and put it out there. I totally believe that's
we're
what
right
happened.
Behind you, girl.
So to attach to the diet, everybody's going to have this healthy diet. They're going to ban meat. So already she's spoken that that you're no longer going to eat meat. And yeah, so I got this from the Federalist.com. It's the 10 most insane requirements of the Green New Deal. Yeah, she's a fucking Looney Tunes. They know it.
Oh,
we know it.
time.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of people supporting her fucking stupid shit very much longer, if not at all.
Well, I mean, she won an election in a pretty left-leaning district in a record low turnout for that district. She barely ran at all, and neither did the incumbent because he was so used to winning it. She just happened to make a little bit more of an appearance and tip the scales just enough. Believe you me, 2 years down the road, 2020.
Well, she's crazy hot too. She's kind of. Let's get down to the nuts and berries of this. She looks good when her fucking eyes aren't spinning out of control, and she's got a hot body. But I mean, she's.
Yeah, but she also has that. She also has that look that she's going to like boil your rabbit. You know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. She absolutely looks like a boil your rabbit type.
I got a feeling the people of that district are going to be having some serious buyer's remorse by the time the 2020 election rolls around. And I got a feeling the old incumbent is going to get his job back.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm totally believe like she's totally sabotaged. I need a second. Please give me a second.
Okay, I have a thought when we come back.
Yeah, because I think I messed up a little bit. No big deal, but I will fix it.
It's okay. We're at 44 minutes, or did we not? Or were we not recording?
Oh, okay. Okay, so we have. I'm back.
Okay.
We have David Harris Jr.'s take on the State of the Union address. Make sure you follow David Harris Jr. on YouTube. Like and share. It's 6 minutes, 30 seconds or so. Check it out, and we'll be back.
So I just finished watching President Donald Trump's State of the Union address. Are you kidding me? There's just like, I am so high right now on America and winning. I mean, he talked about so much more than just the wall. The wall is a huge, huge issue that we need. But I think so many of us have been so wrapped up on just the wall that we've forgotten all of the absolute monumental strides that we have made as a country.
African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all reached their lowest levels ever recorded.
Are you kidding me?
No one has benefited more from a thriving economy than women, who have filled 58% of the newly created jobs last year.
I don't know, that sounds pretty sexist to me. Those women seem to like it, though.
Don't sit yet. You're like this. And exactly 1 century after Congress passed the constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote, We also have more women serving in Congress than at any time before.
He is bringing them all together. Are you kidding me? USA! 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 Even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was chanting USA, and then she looked like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. AOC! He's even got AOC chanting USA! He was bringing all Americans together under one common goal, folks. America first and America safe and a prosperous future for all of us.
To build on our incredible economic success, one priority is paramount: reversing decades of calamitous trade policies. So bad. We are now making it clear to China that after years of targeting our industries and stealing our intellectual property, the theft of American jobs and wealth has come to an end.
Look at this. Look at this. Bipartisan support, folks. He is bringing America together. Are you kidding me? How can anyone argue with this? He talked about the trade deals that we're now making with Mexico, with China. China's been ripping us off for decades and getting away with it. He's put China on notice. There's a new sheriff in town.
We recently imposed tariffs on $250 billion of Chinese goods, and now our Treasury is receiving billions and billions of dollars.
And while he's doing it, he's making friends with the president of China.
My administration has sent to Congress a common sense proposal to end the crisis on the southern border. It includes humanitarian assistance, more law enforcement, drug detection at our ports, closing loopholes that enable child smuggling, and plans for a new physical barrier or wall to secure the vast areas between our ports of entry. In the past, most of the people in this room voted for a wall, but the proper wall never got built. I will get it built.
The wall is not new, folks. It's not a new idea. It's just never been done right. Let the man get it done. The strides that America is taking, the regulations that have been cut, the jobs that have come back, the companies that have come back. Are you kidding me? Who would not want more of all of this? The other thing that he showed me tonight is that there is nobody that holds a candle to him in the 2020 election. There is nobody out there that has done anything close or even remotely thought they could do anything close to what this president has done in 2 years. And he reminds us over and over again, he is just getting started. He understands how to create wealth, folks. That's what he's been doing for decades. And he's trying to do it for us, the American people. And he understands that we need to stay safe. Don't support the politicians that don't care about you, that want to talk about walls are immoral while they hide behind their big walls with security. The safety of America is vital, especially because of the prosperity that is coming our way. David J. Harris Jr. here asking you if you believe in our president, if you support our president, if you're going to vote for our president in 2020, please share this.
So I got this article from, and this goes right into the Green Deal with the new Green Deal or whatever that fucking crazy Looney Tunes bitch is fucking calling it.
Green New Deal. Try to latch on to the whole idea of the FDR's New Deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I go by Teddy Roosevelt's "Speak softly and carry a big stick."
That's the Roosevelt I like to reference.
Yeah, that's the Roosevelt I reference here. So this is an older article. It's by Jonathan Perlman of The Telegraph, the UK version. The Australian Prime Minister advisor says climate change is a UN-led ruse to establish New World Order. Would you say?
Gee, let me think. Yes. Okay. Well, next topic.
Climate change is a hoax developed as part of a secret ploy by the United Nations to undermine democracies and take over the world. A top advisor to Tony Abbott, Australia's Prime Minister, has warned Maurice Newman, the chief business advisor to the Prime Minister, said the science showing the links between human activity and warming climate was wrong, but was being used as a hook by the UN to expand its global control.
And I'm 100% on board, except for the fact that I believe that climate change exists, but I just don't believe that we have anything to do with it. And I don't believe there's a damn thing we can do to change it. I think the only thing we can do is adapt to it. But I'm absolutely certain that there's a power structure in the world that is attempting to gain more power and control over humanity using the ruse of anthropogenic climate change.
Well, I disagree with you on that fact there, Trooper Sam, on that point. I believe that the climate has been exactly the same since the Big Bang. It's been exactly the same. And the idea that there was an ice age before and it lasted 2.6 million years and only ended 11,000 years ago, I think is a complete hoax. Made by scientists to make us believe that that dinosaurs froze. I tried to AOC myself here.
Dude, I couldn't even sit through that. I was like, oh no, he doesn't believe that. I was like, there's a put on happening here. I haven't been told what it is yet.
So somebody's gonna go. They're gonna archive archive what we're saying here, and they're gonna use that in a quote when they're trying to destroy me later on down the road.
And then we definitely get to say, whoa, bro, that totally was out of context.
Are you listening? Are you listening, Jason Ward? Are you listening, Chris Sequel? Are you listening? Yeah, are you going to make a little Tumblr page to destroy the Mad Dog?
Oh
my God,
yeah,
die in a fire,
let's have another
please.
Cancerous Tumblr page, please.
Oh, we're going to destroy Don't Tread on Me, because they're as evil and as bad as Rebel Force Radio. My God.
Yeah, Tumblr banned titties, but they allow this.
Oh my God! This is what our guy says here. He says this is not a fact or logic. It's about a new world order under the control of the UN. He wrote in the Australian. It is opposed to capitalism and freedom, and has made environmental catastrophism a household topic to achieve its objective. Born in Ilford, England, and educated in Australia, Mr. Newman, a staunch conservative and former chairman of the Australian Stock Exchange, has long been outspoken critic of climate change science. I'll remind you guys, it's from Jonathan Perlman. It's a 2015 article from the telegraph.co.uk. Go ahead and check out the rest of it. I didn't want to go through and get too long-winded over something we all agree with. Yes, I believe climate change exists. It exists because we believe that an ice age happened, and it happened 2.6 million years ago, and it lasted to about 11,000 years ago. Yes,
and that shit is cyclical. It happens again, it goes away again, and guess what? We're on the precipice of watching another change. Imagine that.
Imagine we're a little ball in suspended in space. and that little ball adjusts an inch in any direction, could either cool or warm that little ball because we get rays from the sun.
It's amazing how that works.
It's oh my God. It's just, it's some of the people who push this stuff are just so thick. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm sorry I brought up Chris Eagle again and Jason Ward. We're all like holding on. We want Ethan Van Sciver to from Comic Pro Secrets, like and share over on YouTube. We're waiting for the Jason Ward part of his documentary to come out. I'm dying for it. I want to know if Jason Ward is complicit in the kicking or forcing Kelly Marie Tran off of Twitter in a troll or a hoax to blame conservatives. And I want to know if that's the case. I want to know.
That would totally fit, though.
They're not past. I mean, they destroyed Rebel Force Radio. They took every word that they could find, and they spun that crap out of control and took that shit out of context and destroyed those guys. I have no compassion for that.
Seriously, if there's anything that social justice weirdos are good at, it's their own little false flag attacks.
Yeah. So, hey, Sam, I made it over to Sacramento Black Rifle this week. I've been becoming friends with some of the people that work over there, and they're as funny. I don't know. You follow them on Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think they're as funny in real life as they are on their Facebook page and the way they handle the current laws. But
I think you're lucky to actually live close enough that you can go there. I mean, for me, it'd be a heck of a drive. But
oh man, they're like 5
it.
minutes away, man. They're not. Well, maybe about 5 minutes. They're not far at all. As a matter of fact, I used to live closer to them. They moved. Closer to where I am now. They were in a different location and they moved. It's a smaller building, but I mean, I walked in there. I saw some M1As on the shelf, which I was really impressed by. I was like, $1,500.
They're nice looking, but man, I don't recommend one.
They also
I don't recommend an M1A as a. If you want a 308 semi-auto, there are better choices than an M1A.
I know. I just like it though.
That's the hard part to get away from. The fact that you just see it and you go, America.
Yeah, I like the full size. I like the fact that it has the classic style, which kind of gets around a lot of the a lot of our California tyrannical laws.
Stupidity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just gonna call them tyrannical laws because because
they are.
Yeah, because they are. It is what they are. So, would you believe that NPR is shocked to find people are still buying bump stocks despite the ban there, Sam?
I was shocked to read this one myself because of the fact that most of these people are buying them online, which means they're leaving credit card transactions behind them. And, well, I don't feel so secure in my place in the world that I don't think ATF would come after that. I mean, granted, they still have to prove that I didn't destroy it or otherwise surrender it because, it's not like they're serialized. But do I want an ATF agent knocking on my door and shooting my dog? No, I really kind of don't.
I mean, I'm never going to be somebody who's I was never really for bump stock. And I remember seeing them I want to say roughly 2009, 2010. They were all over YouTube. I don't know if we had this conversation before, but I remember a buddy of ours, Ramil, showing me on YouTube. Oh, check out this device. And I've never been for. I would much rather, if I was going to have a full auto weapon, I'd much rather have the weapon designed to operate that way, as opposed to having some kind of plastic thing that operates it in probably which I feel is an unsafe manner. But the story here from Tom Knighton from February 6, 2019, so just 2 days ago, he wrote it in bearingarms.com. It presents a different, it's not just about bump stock, but it's the idea that people are just walking away or not really concerned what the laws are anymore. They feel like their rights have been infringed upon and are going to do it anyway. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. And we'll go into the article real quick. One thing gun people routinely tell anti-gunners is that laws won't stop people from having guns. What gun control activists count on is law-abiding gun owners to remain law-abiding indefinitely. They think that gun owners will continue to follow the law no matter how much control they enact. They think our talk of cold dead hands is nothing but talk. They don't get that there's a line in the sand where gun owners is willing to cross from law-abiding gun owners to just gun owners. NPR was shocked to learn that despite the bump stock ban, people are still buying them. So I got this part in italics. This comes directly from NPR here.
It's
do you want? Can we have NPC Sam come out and read this part?
All right, hang on. Let me conjure him back up.
Okay, it's NPC Sam from NPR right now. Here we go.
There's a countdown clock on the website for RW Arms, a Texas-based seller of firearms accessories. It tracks the days, hours, and minutes, and seconds until they're no longer permitted to sell bump stocks, devices that allow semi-automatic rifles to fire almost as fast as illegal machine guns. Promotional emails from RW Arms also include the countdown clock, urging customers to order now or to enjoy the firing experience while they can. Bump stocks are mostly a novelty, used by people who want to experience firing a gun at machine gun speeds. But in 2017, a gunman used a bump stock to fire into a crowd in Las Vegas, killing 58 people and injuring hundreds. The incident caused the administration to re-examine the legality of the devices, and in December, it announced the ban.
So let's hold on right here. Just let's remind everybody that liberals jumped up and down and cheered because of this fucking nut job in Las Vegas, killing hundreds of redneck white people. Let's remember that.
As I recall the video of Dianne Feinstein sitting next to Trump in that discussion of possible gun control laws and the meme that was made out of it. I want someone who looks at me like Dianne Feinstein looks at Donald Trump when he talks gun control.
So
just looking adoringly at him.
All right. So back to NPC Sam.
All right.
At NPR.
RW Arms sales pitch does not dwell on the fact that by March 26th, its customers will have to destroy or hand in any bump stocks they buy. In fact, no bump stocks will be grandfathered in. The new federal rule reclassifies them, and properly so, as machine guns. No matter when they were purchased, and owning one will become a felony. But it's anyone's guess how many people will dispose of their bump stocks. About 500,000 of the devices have been sold since 2010, and so far relatively few have been turned into authorities, even in the handful of states that banned them before the federal rule came out in December. So they're still out there, waiting to kill again.
Oh my God. Monster.
One reason, maybe a lingering hope that the ban will be reversed. Oh, gun rights activists have filed several lawsuits accusing the government of bowing to political pressure when the ATF reversed its earlier findings that bump stocks were legal. Oh, okay, I'm back. Did I miss anything?
No, that God, one. Oh, no.
He just takes over.
Just your manhood.
I had glitter coming out of my hands like it was shooting out.
So that's what's all over the room. Shit.
It's all over the room. It's in my hair. It's all over the place. It was like firing out. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh boy, he just takes over. I black out when that happens.
So we here at Don't Tread on Me aren't suggesting that anybody in this group or any of my listeners on this show ignore gun laws by any means. However, if you're going to ignore gun laws, please understand the legalities surrounding such ignorance of the law.
However,
go ahead.
Let me add a little something to that. If you're going to choose to, as so many in the 2A community would say, not comply, shut the fuck up about it. Don't talk about it. Don't post it. Don't tell everybody I will not comply.
Stop posting your pictures of your guns on social media.
Holy shit, bro.
Stop.
I don't want to see your armory. I do not want to see your armory.
I'm glad you have it. It's probably wonderful. Stop posting it. Not everybody needs to see your fucking shit.
Seriously. The answer on social media should be the same as when your doctor asks if you own a gun. Nope. Don't have one.
So we got another article. I think it's the same day, actually, too. Is it? February 6th. February 6th. Man, this guy's writing great shit. So Tom Knighton from, once again, from, bearingarms.com.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put the link on this one. February 6, 2019, Illinois State Attorney vows not to prosecute assault weapons cases. This is a question we've asked regarding Pittsburgh, PA, where the mayor is trying to push for a local gun ordinance despite a state preemption law on the books. However, it took a good question to ponder in general. After all, laws are nothing but words on a piece of paper if there is no enforcement of those laws. In Illinois, where one of the county has where at least one county has become a sanctuary county for gun rights, a state's attorney has said there are some laws he won't prosecute. There are some laws he won't prosecute.
And as far as I'm concerned, number one, I find it really encouraging. We've got law enforcement officials across the country, mind you. I mean, not just like in just these single places, Illinois or some sheriffs in California and like that. We're seeing open rebellion from government law enforcement entities standing up to leftist politicians in the legislatures in their states saying, you can write anything you want, I'm not going to do anything with it. But the other side of that is, you know, our little cold civil war that's been going on for a number of years now is getting a little hotter. And it's probably not going to stay cold forever. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's a very good point. California is pushing to broaden and expand its distracted driver's law. So if you have a cell phone on in your car and you're utilizing it, they're trying to make the penalty for doing such more expensive. But
so far they haven't succeeded, but with a super majority like they have, I imagine they'll get what they want.
But it doesn't matter because the cops aren't enforcing it really anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there probably are situations where they're enforcing it. Maybe somebody gets into an accident or they do something really fucking stupid. But in all reality, everybody on the road is driving with a fucking cell phone in their hand. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good habit or anything like that, but the point is, if the law enforcement's not willing to enforce it, it makes it a fucking lame duck.
Indeed. But, I mean, enforcement is going to be kind of patchwork because, like, sheriff's departments, well, whatever law enforcement agency an officer works for, he's going to take his direction from the top. Now, you can expect most cities in the state of California to have police departments and politically appointed police chiefs. They're going to enforce whatever their police chiefs say they should be enforcing. And the police chiefs are going to be taking their direction from the mayor.
Not true. There's a lot of stuff that their police chiefs will state that they need to be enforcing. However, when it comes to the practicality of enforcing those laws, like, for example, speeding, a lot of those cops are left to reasonable thought, where they don't go after everybody for speeding as long as they're driving reasonably. Now,
I'm talking about the more politically motivated things, as opposed to the standard
this is
motor
the thing
vehicle violations.
Law enforcement officers know they're the ones who have to suit up and get these weapons. And like the idea of, like, I don't know if you've seen the meme I put out there, you want to raid people's homes and take their guns away from law-abiding gun owners. That's how civil wars get started. The meme is like, okay, if you go ahead and enact this idea where you're going to kick down people's doors and take their property, then you're almost essentially starting the Civil War. And a lot of law enforcement officers are on the side of gun ownership. Majority,
Indeed,
leaps and bounds.
They have means that don't require officers kicking down doors. In states like ours that have pretty big gun registries, because the legislature passed it so many years ago and some governor signed it, all they have to do is go through those registries and send letters to the addresses. We know you have this. Your tax refund will be withheld. Your student loans are going to be called in due immediately. They can lay all kind. Your driver's license is now suspended until you surrender this.
Yeah, I mean,
they can
understand
lay all
that.
kinds of nonviolent pressure.
I understand that they can put all kinds of
anything.
they could put all kinds of nonviolent pressure and probably get a good portion of them, but are they going to get all of them? There's so many guns out there without anybody even
there's
no record.
Lots of firearms that simply do not exist on paper.
Right. That's my point. And if people, like the people of California for years and years have been buying 80% lower receivers, I mean, there literally is a fucking mass amount of weapons out there that there's no mark, no identity. So at some point, it comes down to like them going through social media. They're going to build up a case. They're going to build up a packet. That packet is going to have access to your social media. They're going to probably have all kinds of access to whatever you use in social media, whatever you do on your computer. So you have to be aware and understand that they're going to probably have a packet of all kinds of information just to maybe go after one gun, and maybe it expands itself to taking more than one, whatever they come up with. But the idea at some point somebody's going to have to put on a suit and kick in a door gives them all kinds of fucking busy work that they don't want to have to deal with from people who don't give them problems. And I think that's ultimately what how most law enforcement officers feel. Now, I know there's exceptions to that rule, but the majority of law enforcement officers that I come across all have "Don't Tread on Me" flags on their car.
I'm pretty sure that they're smart enough to know that leaning on the cops to enforce something like this is pretty much a non-starter. And they can turn the environment in this state hostile enough to owning a firearm that even the ones they don't know exists, they'll remain in hiding. and will never come out publicly again. And then it's just a matter of waiting until those owners die. I mean, if you control the education system, you can really drive it into the kids' heads that guns are illegal and evil and horrible and nobody should have them. And when their parents, pass on and they find out, oh, dad had this, let's call the cops and have them come get it. It's just a matter of time before you disarm the whole state.
Right.
That's just a matter of patience.
But at the same token, the further you get out into the quote unquote sticks, the harder it is to enforce. Because I've driven through Kansas, Colorado, and New Mexico and West Texas, and I'm telling you, there's some one-horse towns that will definitely not comply, sheriff, mayor, and all.
True enough. I mean, there's going to be the holdouts, but let's say they could manage to secure 80% and drive the rest underground. They've pretty well accomplished their goal. They've disarmed the American people at that point.
And so a local and state attorney is standing his ground against the bill that would ban assault weapons. During Monday night's town hall meeting in Marion, put on by Representative Terry Bryant, Republican of Murfreesboro, Dave Servin, Republican of Benton, and Patrick Windhorst, Republican of Metropolis, Wilmington County State Attorney Brandon Zanetti spoke on how he feels on gun control legislation. Zanetti stated he would not prosecute any citizen using their weapon to protect themselves for leisure. If you're not a felon and you're not using it for criminal purposes, we are not going to prosecute you for it, Zanotti said. I think we need to be careful before we start passing all these bills and start banning everything without, again, taking a common sense approach. Currently, a bill that sits in Illinois state involves banning the possession, delivery, and sale and purchase of assault weapons. This is not a crime if that gets passed that I'm going to prosecute, Zanotti said. So
I think that's great. I really applaud that guy, but he's just an election away from not being there and somebody else with a different point of view stating a different policy.
No, he's an election away of probably staying in office in probably an area
it
where
could go either way.
Yeah,
politics have winds that blow both ways, and
that's true.
You don't know what the next election will bring. I mean, granted, he probably is in a pretty conservative county that elected a guy like that. Right. His constituency is probably cheering him and buying him rounds of drinks at the bar, but who knows what the future brings?
So let's use this as a moment or a time to talk about anything you see going on, anything you feel like talking about.
Oh, good Lord. Well, hang on just a sec, because I've got a few topics that I actually saved up in advance for this, but I have to refer back to them.
Okay.
So, one of the things, we're going back to Illinois here, and this actually harks back to a recent story we've heard from New York that is focusing on gun owners, where they have a law in front of the New York State Legislature that would require a bill that hasn't passed yet. I don't even think it's passed out of committee, that would require anybody who wished to purchase a gun to open up their social media accounts to law enforcement in order to get the permit. Illinois now has a similar bill sitting in committee in their legislature. Illinois seeks social media accounts of gun owners, and this is from Reason.com. State police would inspect social accounts for signs of mental health issues. Seldom content to let its coastal counterparts take all the glory for bad ideas, Illinois is following New York's lead and proposing that all prospective gun buyers give the government access to their social media accounts. And here we go again. More direct violations of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. We're walking away from a presumption of innocence, and we're saying, I need to see your information that you post publicly so I can tell you're not just some insane idiot. And I'm a little worried that this is going to come to California. I mean, it already migrated from New York to Illinois, and California is kind of the logical next liberal loony stop.
Well, thank God we have the right people in the Supreme Court at this time. You know,
there is that, and I mean, we do have that one case that's now actually been granted cert from New York, which is a much bigger case than a lot of people think. I don't know if you know the particulars on this one, Mike.
I don't.
All right. On this case that's sitting in front of the Supremes at this point, it's regarding a New York City ordinance that grants a person, if they approve it, a premises license to own a handgun. That means if you are approved by the New York Police Department to purchase and own a handgun, that license extends to your front door and no further. You can, in a locked case and unloaded and like that, take it to one of, I believe, 7 ranges inside the city of New York to actually get some practice with it. But you can go nowhere else with it. You can't even take your pistol out of the city. You cannot travel out of the city to go, say, to your vacation home or another state or, like, say, to an IPSC competition elsewhere. You're not allowed to transport your handgun out of the city of New York. That's the case that's sitting in front of there right now. And this is a case where we get to revisit what Heller really meant. It's the right to bear an arm, does that mean that I have the right to safely travel out of my city with my firearm? Can they control that? That's what this case is going to be deciding. But ultimately, I think the bigger picture here is that the new pro-2A majority that sits on the Supremes is going to finally do what Heller failed to do. And that's establish what level of scrutiny gun laws must be tested by in federal court cases. And I believe that we're going to actually see strict scrutiny set up as the standard for the first time ever. And strict scrutiny means what is that? To measure up exactly to what the Constitution says. It can't be balanced against a public safety need or anything like that. It has to be, what does the Constitution say? Is the right this or is it not? And if it does not meet that requirement, then this law is not valid. And believe you me, the disarmament left is terrified of strict scrutiny being set up as the standard by which gun laws will be measured.
So what would that do? So if that's enacted, how does that what does that do to existing laws on the books?
Then all of a sudden, new cases, including, I mean, we've had cases on any number of gun laws that have, like, the Supremes didn't grant cert on, and so they sit and they become that the precedent basically becomes that those laws stand. If strict scrutiny becomes the standard for Second Amendment cases, those cases can be challenged again. And this time, those judges would have to actually apply strict scrutiny to those claims.
Wow.
Like and if they don't meet up with that, like, say, assault weapons bans, magazine capacity bans, shall issue versus may issue, or virtual no issue, all of a sudden, if all of those things have to be measured under the auspices of strict scrutiny, a lot of those things go away. Maybe even the Brady Bill. Maybe even background checks can't survive that.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how big this one is.
That's pretty wild, wild west right there, I would think.
Yes, it terrifies them.
Have you ever? So this is what I personally believe. I'm not going to go into the depth. I'm not going to go cite anything. I'm just going to say I believe that a good portion of the Democratic Party gets heavily funded by the Mexican cartels. Hence, for their extreme position on preventing the wall, or extreme position of ignoring human trafficking and drug laws and drug smuggling and all those things.
There's some evidence for this.
So if that's the case, could the push for, outside of imposing socialism, could the push for gun control in the capacity that we're seeing be a means to give drug cartels another avenue of business?
That's one I hadn't considered, but let's keep in mind also, drug cartels have not just been relying on, weapons smuggled from the United States. They've actually set up their own small factories to manufacture arms.
Don't catch me off track here. What I'm talking about is them smuggling weapons into the United States to get into the hands of whoever would want them.
Oh, yeah. I'll go with that. Because right now, as conditions exist, that's a market that's largely impenetrable to them, because why would anybody want what's smuggled in when we have such easy access to what's already here?
Unless you're a criminal.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I do believe that I do believe a certain
relatively easy access compared to with what's available inside the borders of the United States without having to resort to smuggling arms over the border. There's enough easily stolen firearms. There's enough easily manufactured firearms. I mean, we've already seen numerous busts for small underground shops that have been making 80% arms for criminals that have been busted and sentenced to prison and like that. So that exists. So right now, gun control in the United States would be necessary. Serious confiscatory gun control would be necessary in order to open up such a market to the drug cartels.
Right.
A lack of availability of firearms would result in a similar lack of availability to the criminal element, and thus the drug cartels would all of a sudden have a market to sell those weapons. So I don't call that a crazy idea.
Well, we're doing really good. It was a great conversation. We're an hour and 25 minutes in, but I'm gonna end the conversation there. I just found out my son got into a fight at school. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. So I don't know if you want to set up a new account, or for email account or whatever. But
let me give that some consideration, and should I decide to do that, well, we'll publicize it here in the next episode.
I'm thinking about doing a Twitter account for DTOM and N3 Radio, just to try to bring more traffic into the show and into the group. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but yeah, I'm looking into trying to expand a little bit within my means without necessarily attracting everybody to my personal identity and my means of feeding my children
today. That I might actually want to. I mean, the account I maintain now on Facebook, I set it up pretty much to be moderately dox-proof.
I tried, but remember, they went out of their way and it forced me to identify myself. So
it might be time for me to dig out one of my alts and make that the Don't Tread on Me account.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe on Twitter, Don't Tread on Me page where you can tweet out articles and maybe hopefully draw some traffic over to our show on our Facebook page.
Yep. Yeah, let's have that as an offline conversation, and you should go figure out what's going on with your kid, and we should sign this one off.
Okay, yeah. So I'm MADDOG. You can send me an email at maddogdtom@yahoo.com. BEACHBALL, do you have an email address?
You could reach me at n3radio2017@gmail.com, MADDOG. And what about you, Trooper Sam?
Godwin Meter, at Godwin Meter on Twitter. You can send DM me, hit me up public. I don't care. I'll answer anything.
All right. So we're gonna leave you here with an 8 minute video of Jordan Peterson. He's reacting to the Gillette ad. So for MADDOG and BEACHBALL and Trooper Sam, we're signing out.
Well, I hate it. So that would be the first. That would be the first. I don't know if that's a thought. It's more like a feeling. I'd rather have my corporations greedy than virtuous. I think it's more trustworthy. This is a strange thing, you know. It's a strange thing that I see happening on the left. It's like the left has always been skeptical of large corporations, and they have their reasons. It's kind of interesting, because the left is skeptical of large corporations, and the right is skeptical of large governments, and they never seem to notice that they're both skeptical about large. Right? And you should be skeptical about large. You know that trope from 2008, too big to fail? It's like, no. So big will inevitably fail. That's the right trope. In any case, so the left now is happy about virtue signaling corporations. It's like, oh, I see, all of a sudden you trust them. That's all it took, is to produce an ad that criticizes masculinity, and all of a sudden corporations are trustworthy? I don't think so. Now, that doesn't mean I think that corporations are particularly untrustworthy compared to other forms of human organization. What else? You see, what's happening on the radical end of the left spectrum is, I think it's something like this. It's very difficult to pull apart completely, but ideologies are parasites, in my estimation, on this underlying symbolic structure that I was talking to you about. There's chaos and there's order. And order fragments into two categories, you could say, negative order and positive order. And negative, if you have your children in a school and they talk about equity, diversity, inclusivity, white privilege, systemic racism, any of that, you take your children out of the class. They're not being educated, they're being indoctrinated. And there's absolutely no excuse for it.
I agree with that completely. Jordan Peterson is a professor at the University of Toronto. He's written a lot about the decline of modern men. We spoke to him recently. Jordan Peterson, thanks for joining us. We've got a long list of statistics that paint a pretty clear picture that boys seem to be falling behind relative to girls in the United States. Why do you think that is?
I think that that's partly a consequence of directed policy. So it's linked to the idea that there's something wrong with masculinity, and so that the expression of masculinity should be limited in all sorts of arbitrary ways. The fact that kids can't really play at schools anymore is a manifestation of that. The fact that male behavior is often diagnosed as attention deficit disordered, for example, is a manifestation of that. The elimination of competition as a valid form of human interaction, and the failure to recognize that competitive sports, for example, are deeply cooperative in their fundamental nature, as long as everyone is playing by the rules, obviously. So there's that's a large part of it.
So you're saying that there is an organized, not always explicit, but still organized attempt to de-emphasize masculinity or to punish masculinity. Why?
Because it's easy to mistake masculine competence for the tyranny that hypothetically drives the patriarchy. It's part of a ideological worldview that sees the entire history of mankind as the oppression of women by men, which is a dreadful way of looking at the world, a very pathological way of looking at the world. It's not like men and women always get along any more than men and men get along, or women and women for that matter. But fundamentally, human history is a cooperative enterprise, and men and women have lifted themselves out of the mire over millennia in their cooperative endeavor. And to describe that as centuries of the oppression of women by men is an absolutely reprehensible ideological rewrite of history. And it's what's taught in the humanities and in much of the social sciences at universities, and increasingly in the public education system. It's taken as an unassailable fact.
And you're saying that this has bad consequences for the development of boys?
Well, how could you feel good about that? I mean, if you're made out to be a potential manifestation of rape culture, if you're part of toxic masculinity, if your competitive drive is regarded as part of a tyrannical impulse, if the heritage to which you belong is regarded as an oppressive patriarchy, then how in the world are you going to step forward with confidence and shoulder that what would you call it, that burden? Why would you? Why wouldn't you just step aside and retreat, which is exactly what's happening?
But if men are so aggressive and bent on domination, on establishing a patriarchy, why have they stepped back and allowed this to happen?
Yeah, well, I guess that's a good question, isn't it? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they are precisely allowing it to happen. It's very insidious, the ideological movement that's driving this, part of the radical left. Part of the radical left, I would say, is it's a very insidious movement. It's not an easy thing to resist, and a lot of it occurs, well, for example, it occurs in the school system increasingly. And it isn't clear they're not men that are reacting to that, that's boys. It's not clear what they're supposed to do about it. So if you were to fight an ideological battle.
It is hard. And finally, if you were to give parents of boys one piece of advice for how, in their small way, they can fight against this trend for the sake of their own boys, what would it be?
Well, I would say, first of all, encourage them. And I mean that most deeply, is that to encourage someone is to instill courage in them, to support their courage. And that doesn't mean protect them from what's dangerous. It means teach them how to be competent and teach them that they can rely on themselves to prevail, even in the darkest of circumstances. That's part of it. Yes. I would say as well, more specifically, and this is specific advice for parents, if you have your children in a school and they talk about equity, and there's class, and they talk about equity, diversity, inclusivity, white privilege, systemic racism, any of that, you take your children out of the class. They're not being educated, they're being indoctrinated. And there's absolutely no excuse for it.
I agree with that completely. You might run out of schools pretty quickly, though, here in this country.
That would be just fine.
Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Hey, dude, don't go away, man. Come on, this affects all of us, man. They're basic freedoms.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle. Goodbye.
Turn it off.
We're leaving.
That's pretty bad out there.
Oh, no, you can't stay.
Thanks for coming by, though.
You can't stay.
Turn it off.
And like that, he's gone.
N3 Radio is a non-profit teaching platform for non-professionals. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or professional use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Get lost in the notes of the Jazzlands with me, your host, RC, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, only here on N3 Radio.
Hey, did you see that post online about Julie? I totally wrote it. Wasn't it hilarious? Is all of that true? Who cares? She's done anyways.
Are you talking about that post about Julie?
Yeah, funny, right?
No, but that post about you was.
What post?
Oh, you didn't hear? You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, and oh yeah, you smell too. The whole school saw it, no big deal.
That's so mean. Did they really write that about me?
No, but how does it feel?
Sometimes you can feel all alone when being bullied. That's when you can really use a friend. If you see someone you know being bullied online, let them know they're not alone. Stand up now, support a friend, save a life. For more information on cyberbullying, visit stopthemean.wordpress.com or call our hotline at 1-800-555-STOP.
Catch a ride on the wave with the best in retro wave music beginning at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday with your host Robert here on N3 Radio and at n3radio.com.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Join your host, DJ Kenny Starr, every night at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific for Bang Your Head for the best mashup of hip-hop and rap only on n3radio.com.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
N3 Radio in the mix.